You know that feeling. You're sitting in a presentation, maybe the topic's even interesting, but
Hmm.
your mind just starts drifting. Happens all the time.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been there.
But what if you could be the one who holds everyone's attention? The one whose ideas really truly land?
That's the goal.
Well, today, we're going to dive deep into exactly that. We're unpacking the secrets behind really captivating communication, and we're using Carmine Gallo's book, The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs, as our guide.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. Gallo really dissects how Jobs managed to deliver these presentations that weren't just, informative, but actually engaging, memorable even.
Right.
He looks at the keynotes, breaks them down, shows you the method behind what looked like magic, and he uses this helpful structure thinking about presentations and acts and scenes, which makes it pretty easy to follow.
Exactly. And look, our mission here isn't just to sit back and admire Steve Jobs. It's about pulling out the core principles, the real actionable stuff from the book that you listening right now can actually start using.
Mm-hmm. Practical takeaways.
Whether it's a big formal presentation or maybe just trying to get buy-in for an idea at work or even just, everyday conversations. These insights are super valuable. We're talking practical strategies to be more persuasive, more engaging.
Okay, so let's jump in. Act one is all about creating the story. This is foundational stuff for any good communication.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. And the first scene, interestingly, it's about planning, but planning in analog.
Okay, analog planning. So we're talking, forget PowerPoint or Keynote for a minute.
Pretty much. The book really hammers this point. The
Mhm.
critical first step is thinking, sketching, scripting before you even think about opening the software.
Huh. And it's not just Gallo saying this.
No, he cites design experts, people who worked on Apple events even, suggesting that the vast majority of your time should be in this planning stage, thinking it through.
Wow. How much time are we talking?
Well, get this, Nancy Duarte, she's a big name in presentation design. She worked on An Inconvenient Truth for Al Gore.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She suggests maybe spending up to 90 hours preparing for a 1-hour presentation.
90.
90 hours for 60 minutes on stage. That's intense.
It is, but here's the kicker. Only about a third of that time, maybe 30 hours, is actually for making the slides. The rest, it's research, organizing your thoughts, sketching out the story structure.
So the story comes way, way before the slides.
Absolutely, it's the backbone. Cliff Atkinson, in his book, talks about a three-step storyboard process: writing first, then sketching, then producing slides. The script dictates the visuals, not the other way around.
That makes sense. If you know the story, the visuals should support that.
Right. And how do you know if your story, your core message, is clear enough? Gallo talks about the napkin test.
The napkin test, like literally on a napkin.
Yeah, the idea is your central concept, the absolute core of your message, should be so simple and clear you could sketch it out and explain it on a napkin.
Okay.
If you can't do that, your message is probably too fuzzy, too complicated. It forces that ruthless focus. I like that. It forces simplicity right from the start. Oh. Okay, so you've got your core idea crystal clear. Scene two is about answering the one question that matters most.
And that question is, why should my listener care?
Seems obvious, doesn't it?
It really does. But it's amazing how often it gets missed. In presentations, marketing, press releases. People forget to answer that fundamental question.
So how did Jobs do it? The book must have examples.
Oh yeah, the iMac introduction is a classic example. He didn't just rattle off specs, he'd introduce a feature and then immediately say what that means is and explain the benefit to the user. He connected the dots for them.
Right, making it relevant, not just abstract tech talk.
Exactly. And Gallo contrasts this with, real press releases that totally fail. A pizza chain announcing profits. Okay, so what? For me, the customer. Or a company releasing a steel market report. Who cares? Why should I?
Huh. Yeah, you see those all the time. Company-focused, not audience-focused.
Precisely. Jobs wasn't selling features. He was selling, as the book puts it, a dream of a better future.
A dream.
Okay.
Like the iPhone.
Think about it. He didn't lead with market share. He painted a picture. A revolutionary phone, an iPod, an internet device, all in one, easy to use. That was the dream.
Right, the experience, the possibility.
Guy Kawasaki, who was an early Apple evangelist, said it perfectly. You sell a dream, not just a thing. It's about showing people how they can be part of something bigger.
So the takeaway is, figure out the core benefit, the why should I care, and make it super clear. Repeat it.
Nail it down. Okay, scene 3. Developing a messianic sense of purpose. Sounds a bit grand, doesn't it?
Yeah, messianic. What's the core idea there?
It's about being driven by something more than just profit. You know, Jobs' famous line, "We're here to put a dent in the universe."
Right, that bigger vision.
It's that deep belief in the significance of what you're doing. That kind of passion, that conviction, it's infectious.
The book brings in other voices on this.
Yeah, there's a great quote from Chris Gardner, the guy from The Pursuit of Happiness, about finding something you love so much you can't wait to wake up and do it. That genuine passion resonates. And it connects to findings in the book Built to Last about how visionary companies are often driven by core values, a purpose beyond the bottom line. Jobs said money wasn't the main thing for him. It was about doing something wonderful.
It's interesting. Gallo even weaves in Malcolm Gladwell's point from Outliers about those early tech pioneers, including Jobs.
Right, how their initial passion wasn't about getting rich quick. It was fascination with the tech itself.
Just loving the exploration.
Yeah, and that passion carries through. Marcus Buckingham defines leadership as rallying people to a better future. Leaders are restless for change. Jobs embodied that, wanting to fundamentally change how people used computers.
So that deep sense of purpose fuels the whole story. Okay, scene 4. Creating Twitter-like headlines. Now we're getting tactical.
Yeah, this is about the power of being concise and memorable. Gallo emphasizes headlines under 140 characters, simple subject, verb, object. Think about the iPhone launch.
What was the headline?
Today, Apple reinvents the phone. Boom. Short, impactful, clear.
And Jobs created these himself.
Hmm.
He didn't just let the press figure it out.
Exactly. He crafted the headline and repeated it. He controlled the core message.
Makes sense.
The GarageBand intro is another good one. Headline: GarageBand, a major new pro music tool. Simple slide mirroring it. Then he'd elaborate, but always come back to that core headline. Made it stick.
He did this for other products, too.
Oh, yeah. MacBook Air, the world's thinnest notebook. Safari, the fastest web browser ever. Always concise, always benefit-oriented.
Interesting point about Keynote, perhaps encouraging this more than PowerPoint.
Yeah, the visual-first nature might lend itself better to strong headlines. Okay, scene 5. Drawing a roadmap. Giving the audience a preview.
Like an agenda slide, but maybe more engaging.
Sort of, yeah. It's about setting expectations, making it easy to follow. Jobs often use the rule of 3.
Ah, the rule of 3 comes up a lot in communication advice.
It does, because it worked. Remember the iPhone launch again? He said Apple was introducing 3 revolutionary products, but then revealed it was all one device.
Right.
That was brilliant. Total aha moment. Built anticipation, then delivered the twist. And he'd used this before, like calling the original Mac the 3rd industry milestone.
So it's a structure people can latch onto.
Exactly. And it's not just Jobs. Journalists often structure stories around 3 points. USA Today condensing complex topics into 3 takeaways. Our brains seem wired for 3s.
So he'd outline 3 or 4 points, explain them, then recap.
Consistently. Even Steve Ballmer used the rule of 3 sometimes. Jobs would often give a verbal agenda right at the start, like, I've got 4 things to talk about.
Setting the stage clearly.
Right. Ted Sorensen, Kennedy's speechwriter, talked about writing for the ear, using numbered points. Same idea. Provides structure, aids memory.
You could even apply it to this book, right? Headline: Unlock Job Secrets. 3 points. Craft the story, deliver the experience, refine the delivery.
Perfect example. It just makes complex information digestible. Even famous speeches, like Jimmy Valvano's ESPY speech, use the rule of 3 for emotional impact.
Okay, roadmap established. Scene 6. Introduce the antagonist. Villain time. In a presentation.
Huh. Yeah, kind of. It draws on classic storytelling. Hero versus villain. Jobs often set up a problem, an enemy, a less desirable alternative that his product, the hero, would defeat.
Like the famous 1984 ad.
Exactly. IBM, Big Blue, was cast as the antagonist. The ad portrayed them as this controlling force, contrasting with Apple's liberating vision. Jobs framed it as IBM wanting it all. Powerful stuff.
That ad is legendary for that reason.
Then fast forward to the iPhone launch. Who was the antagonist?
The existing smartphones?
Right. The Motorola Q, BlackBerry Palm Trio, their clunky keyboards and fixed buttons. He highlighted their pain points, their frustrations, before showing the iPhone's elegant solution.
Establish a problem first. Makes the solution seem much more necessary.
Precisely. Martin Lindstrom even compared Apple's messaging to religion, a clear vision, a common enemy. It creates urgency.
So it's about defining the pain point.
Yeah. Gallo uses examples from startup pitch events like TechCrunch 50, a common mistake entrepreneurs make. Jumping straight to the product without explaining the problem they solve.
Like offering coffee to someone who isn't thirsty yet.
Perfect analogy. You gotta establish the need first. Kevin Fleiss from Travel Muse did it well. Established the category, travel planning, outlined the problem, it's overwhelming, then presented his solution.
So there's a framework for this, like an elevator pitch.
The book suggests one. What do you do? What problem do you solve? How are you different? Why should I care? It forces you to frame your solution against the problem. Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth is another example, establishing the universally accepted problem of global warming with compelling visuals before proposing solutions.
That visual of the CO2 levels rising on the lift.
Yeah.
Very memorable. Okay, so you've set up the villain, the problem. Scene 7. Reveal the conquering hero.
This is where your product, your service, your idea comes in as the solution, the escape from the villain's clutches. And the key is the solution needs to be presented simply, without jargon.
Like on Apple's own website.
Yeah, the Why You Love a Mac section focuses on benefits, the experience, not just raw specs.
Right.
Compare that to a typical PC spec sheet. Big difference.
Jobs avoided data dumps.
Absolutely. He steered clear of excessive stats and jargon. Remember the one more thing moment with the first Intel MacBooks?
Vaguely.
He framed the problem. The old PowerPC chips were too power-hungry for laptops. Then the solution, the Intel chip. Simple. He even had a funny slide of the Pope to emphasize the lower power need.
Okay. Making it relatable.
And with iMovie HD, the problem was slow movie making. The Mac was positioned as the simple, almost heavenly solution. It always came back to the experience, not just the tech specs.
Selling the experience, not the product.
Exactly. And he believed that kind of passion, that perseverance in solving the problem was crucial for entrepreneurs. It stems from really believing in your solution.
So that wraps up Act 1, building the story. Now, a quick intermission. Obey the 10-minute rule. What's this about?
It's pretty straightforward, really, just acknowledging attention spans.
Right, people zone out.
Yeah, so the idea is to break longer presentations into chunks, roughly 10 minutes each. Introduce little shifts, maybe a demo, a video, a new section. Just something to reset attention and keep people engaged. It prevents overload.
Makes sense. A mental breather. Okay, Act 2. Deliver the experience. This is about the how of the presentation.
Right,
The delivery.
exactly. How you bring that story to life. And scene 8 is channel their inner zen, which translates to...
Simplicity. Visuals.
You got it. Massive emphasis on simplicity. The former CEO of Shell, Jeroen van der Veer, said a leader should explain their vision in 2 minutes. That's clarity.
And Jobs' slides reflected this.
Totally. Minimal text, highly visual. Gallo contrasts this with typical slidements, those dense slides packed with bullet points.
Death by PowerPoint. We've all seen them.
And there's science behind why they're bad. Dr. Gregory Burns talks about the lazy brain. It doesn't want to work too hard. Text-heavy slides force it to work overtime, decoding text while listening. It hinders learning.
So visuals are easier for the brain to process alongside spoken words.
Yes. Richard Mayer's multimedia principle. Words plus relevant pictures are better than words alone. And his contiguity principle. Put the words and corresponding pictures together. Gallo shows examples from a Jobs presentation, introducing the genius feature spoken words, perfectly matching simple visual slides.
And pictures stick better, right?
Much better. The picture superiority effect. John Medina's research found people remember only about 10% of spoken info after 3 days, but it jumps to 65% if you add a relevant picture.
65%. That's huge. So instead of 5 bullet points about features...
Show one great image representing the benefit. Way more impactful.
And keep the slides clean.
Absolutely. Nancy Duarte emphasizes white space, visual breathing room. Clutter is bad design. Gallo shows a mock cluttered slide versus Jobs' clean, photocentric MacBook Air launch slides. The difference is stark.
Okay, clean visuals, less text. Scene 9 is about language. Use amazingly zippy words.
Yeah, basically use clear, concise, engaging language. Einstein's quote fits perfectly. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
So Jobs used simple language.
Remarkably so. The book analyzes readability stats. His language was way easier to understand than, say, Bill Gates's in similar contexts.
And he used those enthusiastic words.
All the time. Amazing, incredible, gorgeous. It sounded authentic because he seemed genuinely excited. The advice is, use simple, emotional words, but stay professional. And watch out for jargon creep.
Jargon, the enemy of clarity.
Totally. Mission statements are often the worst offenders, just meaningless buzzwords. Compare that to Apple's simple, powerful mission. Jobs use specific, concrete, emotional phrases describing the iPod, the MacBook Air. You could picture it.
Jack Welch hated jargon too, right?
It's big time. There's an anecdote in the book about him shutting down jargon. Clarity was key, and it's crucial for pitching ideas too. David Pogue, the tech columnist, wants simple explanations. Jargon kills pitches.
So simple words avoid jargon. What about analogies?
Huge. Analogies create mental buckets, helping people grasp new things quickly. Comparing Apple TV to a familiar DVD player. Likening the iPod Shuffle to gum, the first iPod to a deck of cards.
Ah, relatable comparisons.
Exactly. They bridge the understanding gap, especially for complex ideas, makes the unfamiliar feel familiar. Clear, zippy language and good analogies win people over.
Got it. Scene 10. Dress up your numbers, making data interesting.
Yeah, making it specific, relevant, and contextual. Don't just dump numbers on people, make them mean something.
Like the iPhone 3G launch.
Perfect example. He didn't just say faster speeds. He showed side-by-side loading times IDGE versus 3G. Tangible difference, and the price drop, framed as twice as fast at half the price. Instantly understandable value.
Context is key.
Always. He contextualized iPhone sales by comparing them to competitors' market share, gave the numbers meaning relative to the industry.
Any other examples?
SanDisk used an analogy transistors like ants circling the globe to make their huge memory card capacity relatable. IBM explained a petaflop in understandable terms.
Making the abstract concrete.
Exactly. Environmental groups do it too, breaking down huge CO2 numbers per person, comparing them to historical events like the Dust Bowl. Always frame data so your audience gets why it matters. Raw data is boring. Contextualized data tells a story.
Okay, that wraps Act 2 delivery, visuals, language, data. Now, Act 3. Package the material, enhancing the impact further. Scene 11. Share the stage.
This is about building credibility using social proof.
Testimonials, partners.
Exactly. Jobs often brought employees on stage to demo things, or partners like Intel's CEO, their presence adds weight.
And customer testimonials.
Very powerful. Video clips of happy customers can be super persuasive. The advice: actively cultivate customers who can be references.
Makes sense. What about media?
Jobs used positive reviews strategically. In the Leopard presentation, he quoted top tech journalists, even getting a laugh by including a positive review of a Mac from PC Magazine. Using trusted third-party voices builds confidence.
Leverage that credibility. Okay, scene 12. Stage your presentation with props, making things tangible.
Physical objects create memorable moments, emotional connections. Think Jobs pulling the first Mac out of a bag. Iconic.
Or the MacBook Air in the envelope.
Exactly. That simple visual demo of its thinness was incredibly effective. Props make abstract ideas concrete and stick in the mind.
Yeah, Kawasaki had rules for demos too.
Yeah, his 5 S's. Short, simple, sweet, swift, substantial. Gallo analyzes the iPhone 3G demo against these. It hit all the marks, especially showing the speed difference quickly and clearly.
And demos appeal to different learners.
Right. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, seeing, hearing, and imagining doing. A good demo engages more senses, makes the message stickier.
Bring it to life. Scene 13. Reveal a holy shit moment. Needs a better name, maybe, but I get the idea.
Huh. Yeah, it's about creating that one signature, unforgettable moment, the thing people talk about afterward.
Like the Mac anniversary when the computer spoke?
Classic example. Unexpected, unique, totally memorable. Or the iPod intro, the slow reveal, building up to fits in your pocket, created real excitement around the key feature.
Does it have to be a product launch?
Not necessarily. The book mentions a personal story can work too, like an organic farmer sharing his passion. It's about creating an emotionally resonant peak moment.
And the iPhone launch twist 3 products in 1 fits here too.
Perfectly. A masterclass in building suspense and delivering a surprising, memorable reveal. Every Jobs presentation aimed for at least one moment like that.
Something to make them gasp, basically. Okay, scene 14 we covered with props. Scene 15, refine and rehearse. This feels crucial.
Absolutely non-negotiable for a great delivery. Practice breeds confidence and smoothness.
There's an anecdote about handling tech issues.
Yeah, a CEO who sailed through glitches because he was so well rehearsed versus another exec with fancy slides who stumbled because he hadn't practiced enough. Preparation makes the difference.
It helps get rid of filler words, the ums and ahs.
Definitely. Practice builds awareness. It also mentions varying your voice pitch, pace, volume, pauses. Avoid the monotone drone, like Ben Stein and Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, Bueller. Yeah, gotta avoid that.
Energy and enthusiasm are key too. Think Rachel Ray or Tony Robbins. Find your authentic energy level. Record yourself. Get feedback. It all helps.
What about handling Q&A?
The bucket method. Anticipate question types, prep concise answers for each bucket, listen for keywords, then respond confidently from your prepared framework. Hillary Clinton's confirmation hearing prep is cited as an example.
So anticipate and prepare.
Relentless preparation. It's the best cure for nerves. Think Jordan, Phelps. Jobs had that same dedication to practice.
Okay, practice, practice, practice. But then scene 16 says, toss the script. Seems contradictory.
A little bit, but the point is, after all that practice, you shouldn't sound like you're reading a script. You should sound conversational, natural, avoid the slide room delivery.
So how do you do that without a script?
Jobs used his simple visual slides as prompts. One main idea per slide. The book suggests a 5-step method to wean yourself off a full script. Write full notes, highlight keywords, delete extra words, memorize one idea per slide, use the visual as your trigger.
A gradual letting go.
Exactly. Speaker notes can help in practice, but the goal is not to rely on them live. Gallo even shows Jobs' actual iPhone demo notes surprisingly brief, just key points. Joel Osteen uses discrete notes but maintains eye contact. It's about internalizing, not memorizing word for word.
Makes sense. Prepared but natural. Scene 17, wear the appropriate. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, just dress suitably for the audience and occasion. Basic professionalism, not much detail in the book, but it's common sense.
Right. And finally, scene 18, have fun.
If you're passionate and well-prepared, hopefully you are enjoying it. Richard Branson's quote captures it. Work hard, believe you can do it, and try to have fun.
That passion comes through.
It really does. People call Jobs a master showman. When you're genuinely enthusiastic, the audience feels it.
Definitely. And the encore part.
Just leaving them with a final, lasting thought or story, like Jobs' commencement speech with the 3 stories. A memorable takeaway.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what are the immediate takeaways someone can use?
Well, first, definitely that analog planning. Spend real time on the story before the slides. Ask yourself constantly, why should my listener care? Get that answer crystal clear.
Right, and structure it.
Yeah, use a roadmap, maybe the rule of 3. Keep slides super simple and visual. Use clear, engaging language. Ditch the jargon.
I can create that memorable moment, that holy shit peak. Plus, rehearse like crazy.
Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. So you can deliver it confidently, naturally, authentically. You can start today just by thinking about your next email or meeting. What's the core message? Why should they care?
Good point. So for everyone listening, think about the last presentation that really stuck with you. Why did it work? What made it memorable?
And how can you borrow some of those techniques, the storytelling, the visuals, the passion, the practice, to make your next communication leave that same lasting impression?
Great question to ponder. And if you're thinking about other communication challenges, maybe pitching ideas or leading meetings, well, join us for future deep dives where we'll keep exploring how to connect and persuade effectively.